You walk into a supermarket in Reykjavik, shaking the snow off your coat. The shelves are stocked with unfamiliar brands, smoked fish, and buyer. You look for a taste of home, a simple comfort snack. You want that iconic red box with the buttery golden discs, but you won't find it here. It is not just out of stock, it is illegal. The government of Iceland has deemed it unfit for human consumption. It sits in the same category as certain toxins. Why would a harmless cracker be an enemy of the state? The answer is hidden in the fine print of the ingredient list. It is a story of oil, chemistry, and a scandal that the industry tried to bury, but the science caught up with them. And now, you are about to find out what you have really been eating. Hit subscribe if you want to know what they aren't telling you. Comment band below if you check your food labels. Let's open the box and expose the truth. The mystery begins not in a laboratory, but in the cold, pristine air of Iceland, a country known for its obsession with purity. Here, the water is unfiltered from the source, and the air is crisp enough to freeze your breath instantly. In this environment, food is treated with a level of scrutiny that would baffle the average American shopper. When Icelandic health officials looked at the classic American Ritz cracker, they didn't see a snack. They saw a chemical weapon. It wasn't about the calories, the salt, or even the sugar content, which are the usual suspects in junk food criticism. The ban was triggered by a specific viscous substance that holds the cracker together and gives it that melt-in-the-mouth texture. This substance is technically an oil, but it behaves unlike anything found in nature. To the Icelandic authorities, allowing this product on their shelves would be a violation of public health safety laws. If you travel to the UK or other parts of Europe, you might see Ritz crackers on the shelves, confusing the issue. But pick up that European box and look at the ingredients. It is a completely different product, reformulated to be legal. The American version, the one you likely have in your pantry right now, is the contraband item that cannot cross these borders. This creates a bizarre global divide, where the same brand name represents two entirely different chemical realities, depending on your geography. The texture of the American cracker is flaky, buttery, and incredibly shelf-stable, capable of sitting in a box for months without spoiling. That unnatural longevity is exactly what alerted European regulators, who know that real food is supposed to rot eventually. In Iceland, where food is often fresh or preserved through traditional smoking and drying, the Ritz cracker is an alien object. It represents the pinnacle of industrial food engineering, a triumph of shelf life over human life. Imagine standing in that Reykjavik store, asking a clerk for the crackers, only to be met with a confused or stern look. They might point you toward local alternatives, baked with real butter or sunflower oil, ingredients that the body recognizes. The absence of the red box is a silent statement, a protective barrier erected by the government against a foreign invader. But to understand why this barrier exists, we have to leave the supermarket and enter the processing plant. We need to zoom in, past the golden crust, past the salt crystals, down to the molecular level of the fat used in the dough. The culprit has a name that sounds industrial, because it is. Partially hydrogenated cottonseed oil. For decades, this oil was the secret weapon of the processed food industry, a miracle of cost-cutting and texture. It began as a liquid, extracted from the seeds of cotton plants, a byproduct of the textile industry that needed a market. But liquid oil spoils, goes rancid, and makes crackers oily rather than crisp, which was a problem for mass manufacturing. So, scientists in the early 20th century developed a process to force hydrogen gas into the oil under immense pressure and heat. This violence against the oil molecule changes its structure, twisting it into a shape that does not exist in nature. The result is a fat that is solid at room temperature, mimicking butter but costing a fraction of the price. This Frankenstein fat is what gives the Ritz cracker its signature mouthfeel, that coating that lingers on your tongue. In the US, this was celebrated as a technological breakthrough, a way to make food cheaper and last longer on the shelves. But in the human body, this twisted molecule acts like a jagged key in a smooth lock, causing chaos in the bloodstream. This is the trans fat, a substance that the World Health Organization has declared has no safe level of consumption. When you eat a cracker made with this oil, your body tries to process it, but the enzymes are confused by the artificial bond. Instead of being burned for energy or stored as normal fat, it triggers a systemic inflammatory response. It scuffs the interior walls of your arteries, creating little injuries that your body tries to patch with cholesterol. This is why Iceland banned it. They saw the direct link between this specific oil and soaring rates of heart disease. The oil scandal isn't just about the existence of the oil, but about how long the industry knew it was dangerous. For years, companies fought to keep these oils in their products, arguing that they were essential for flavor and texture. They knew that removing them would require expensive reformulation and might change the taste that consumers were addicted to. So, they kept the hydrogenation tanks running, pumping out tons of this gray, sludge-like fat that would be bleached yellow later. In Iceland, the legislation was swift and unforgiving. If your product contains more than 2% trans fats, it is banned. The American Ritz cracker, depending on the batch and formulation era, soared past this safety limit with ease. It was a clear-cut case for the regulators. The product was effectively a delivery system for a slow-acting poison. This decisive action stands in stark contrast to the slow, bureaucratic crawl of regulations in the United States. While Iceland was purging its shelves, American consumers were reading labels that assured them everything was fine. This brings us to the most infuriating part of the scandal, the labeling loophole that keeps you in the dark. In the US, the FDA allows manufacturers to round down to zero if a serving contains less than 0.5 grams of trans fat. This means a product can legally claim 0 grams trans fat in big bold letters while actually containing the toxin. Think about the serving size of Ritz crackers. It is often listed as just 5 little crackers. Who eats just 5 crackers? You eat 10, maybe 15, while watching a movie or waiting for dinner. With every serving you exceed, you are stacking those insignificant 0.4 grams into a significant, dangerous dose. By the time you finish half a sleeve, you have consumed a strictly illegal amount of trans fat by Icelandic standards. This mathematical trickery allows companies to comply with the letter of the law while violating the spirit of public health. It creates a false sense of security, making you believe you are making a healthy choice, or at least a neutral one. Meanwhile, your arteries are slowly accumulating the plaque that this ghost fat encourages. The European regulators looked at this 0.5 grams loophole and rejected it, demanding total transparency and strict limits. The corporate shield goes deeper than just the label. It involves lobbying and funding studies to downplay the risks. For decades, the sugar industry was the villain, while these industrial seed oils slipped under the radar. They were marketed as vegetable oils, a term that sounds healthy, natural, and benign to the unsuspecting shopper. But there is nothing natural about heating cottonseed oil to 400 degrees and blasting it with nickel catalysts and hydrogen gas. The dissonance is jarring. In Reykjavik, this box is contraband. In New York, it is a lunchbox staple for children. This isn't just about different tastes. It is about a fundamental difference in how governments view their duty to protect citizens. In Europe, the precautionary principle often rules. Prove it is safe before you sell it. In the US, the approach is often reactive. Sell it until we prove it kills people, then maybe regulate it. The reformulation efforts have been slow and often quiet, with companies not wanting to admit why they are changing recipes. If they suddenly announce now trans fat-free, they implicitly admit that the previous version was dangerous. So they do it quietly, or they don't do it at all for markets where they think they can get away with it. The oil scandal is this silent complicity, the knowledge that a safer alternative exists but isn't used everywhere. When you hold that cracker, you are holding a piece of history, a relic of an era where chemistry outpaced safety. The flaky layers are a testament to the power of hydrogenated fats to create texture without the cost of butter. But that texture comes at a high price, one that is paid in cardiac units and hospital visits years down the line. Iceland decided that the price was too high for its population to pay, opting to ban the import entirely. It forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about what other safe additives are currently lurking in our pantries. If a simple cracker can be banned for containing a hidden toxin, what about the cereal, the soup, or the bread? The web of industrial food production is vast, and the Ritz cracker is just the tip of the melting iceberg. It serves as a symbol of the disconnect between what we think we are eating and what is actually entering our cells. The sensory experience of eating the cracker, the salt hitting your tongue, the crunch, the smooth finishes, engineered. It is designed to hit the bliss point, overriding your brain's stop signals and making you reach for another. And with each reach, the hidden oil enters your system, doing its invisible work on your cardiovascular health. This is the reality that the Icelandic government refused to accept for its people. The ban is not just a bureaucratic rule, it is a cultural stance on the value of human health versus corporate profit. It highlights a divide where one side of the Atlantic prioritizes shelf life and the other prioritizes life itself. As you stand in the aisle of your local store, looking at that red box, you now possess a burden of knowledge. You know that in a land of fire and ice, this box is considered too dangerous to be sold. You know that the 0 grams on the label might be a lie, a statistical rounding error that hides a harsh truth. The oil scandal is not ancient history. It is sitting right there on the shelf, wrapped in plastic and cardboard. The choice of whether to buy it is no longer just about taste. It is about trust and risk. Perhaps it is time to look for the snacks that don't need a degree in chemistry to understand. Maybe the Icelanders are onto something, protecting their food supply from the excesses of industrial processing. The next time you hear that satisfying crunch, remember the silence of the Reykjavik supermarket shelf. Remember that what is legal is not always what is safe, and what is hidden is often what matters most. The story of the Ritz cracker is a warning, a crumb trail leading us to a larger truth about our food system. So, look closely at the ingredients list, past the marketing buzzwords and the bright, cheerful colors. Look for the words partially hydrogenated or shortening, the code words for the oil that sparked the ban. Your health is the final battleground of this scandal, and the only weapon you have is awareness. The red box remains a mystery, a beloved icon in one land, a banned substance in another. The snow continues to fall in Iceland, covering the streets in a blanket of white purity. Inside the warm homes, people share snacks that do not rely on twisted molecules to taste good. And across the ocean, the factories continue to churn out millions of crackers, playing the game of averages. Which side of the ocean are you on? The answer lies in your pantry.